We are not alone. The Pentagon released the UFO files a few weeks back, and we just found out over 1 billion people have visited the site. 1 billion.
Well, I was wrong. They dropped. If you're a subscriber to this channel, or if you saw my video on Trump releasing the UFO files, you know I didn't believe anything was going to come from that, and that it was all just a distraction. But on May 8th, 2026, the Department of War, formerly known as the Department of Justice, released what they called the first batch of UFO files. And now being at the end of May, they just dropped the second batch today, which I'll be making a video on very soon, so make sure you're subscribed. A lot of people think this started with Obama going on a podcast a few months ago.
Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them.
And then that same week, Trump said that that was classified material.
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. I may get him out of trouble by declassifying.
And then he posted this tweet about releasing them. Well, that's kind of what kicked this off. It really goes back to the congressional hearings on UFOs in both 2023 and 2024. The witnesses and congressmen both mentioned there's no reason the videos can't be released and to just blur out sensitive info, which is exactly what most of these videos do. Plus, the NASA witness at that hearing said NASA has thousands of pieces of content they could release pertaining to UAPs.
In regard to research, NASA has vast archives, much of which may contain important UAP data.
Multiple other presidents have commented on UFOs before, but they never actually led to anything being released, until these files. They were released in collaboration with AARO, NASA, the FBI, the Department of Energy, and ODNI. There's 158 documents totaling more than 4,000 pages that have been declassified, including military reports of UAP sightings to unclassified pictures and videos being released. So this completely destroys the narrative the US government has used for almost a century, that they have no knowledge of UFOs in any way, confirming that they've been lying the entire time. Because these reports go all the way back to the early 1940s and span over the entire globe. The US, Africa, Syria, UAE, Afghanistan, Greece, low Earth orbit, and the moon. Now, most of the files aren't groundbreaking, which is expected. If the government immediately dropped info that proved UFOs and aliens were real, that would shatter most people's trust in their government, cause conflicts with their religious beliefs, and make people question going to their job and their everyday life. That'd be a big problem. To prevent that, they're doing a slow drip of disclosure. Have one president mention UFOs probably exist. Have another say they've seen some weird things. Make some movies and shows. Have a congressional hearing where details of crashed UFOs and biological entities are discussed.
Biologics came with some of these recoveries.
Has the government conducted secret UAP crash retrieval programs, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, were they designed to identify and reverse engineer alien craft, yes or no?
Yes.
And have politicians start talking about it openly. This disclosure movement's entire purpose is to normalize the belief that we are not alone in the universe, and slowly planting the idea so that most people come to the realization on their own, and it won't be a big shock once it becomes official knowledge. But there are a few things I want to point out from the files that are validating for UFO nuts. The first one is the fact that many documents reference or were directly sent to Wright Patterson Air Force Base. Going back all the way to the Roswell incident in 1947, this has been rumored to be one of the primary spots that UFO materials and potentially alien bodies are sent to. The files declassified a handful of pictures and videos of UAPs, but a lot of these are pretty lackluster. They're typically just infrared videos of a small circle moving in the distance, nothing exciting. One of the most discussed videos that were declassified was of this star-shaped object. People immediately pointed out how it seems to mimic biblically accurate angels, especially from the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch is a biblical book omitted from most printings of the Bible, and is well known in the UFO community due to its description of the Watchers, angels in the sky who would occasionally come down to interact with and guide humanity, which matches the description from multiple ancient civilizations of star people that came down and provided guidance. Going back to the video, you can see a trail which typically isn't something that is really ever included in UFO sightings. That's an issue because a trail would indicate some sort of propulsion, which would mirror human-made technology, not extraterrestrial. Because propulsion technologies resist gravity, which would prevent traveling large distances that would be required to make it to Earth from another place in the universe. And UFOs are typically reported as having no visible means of propulsion or trails in any way. This footage is also infrared of what is likely a very bright object, which would cause a light refraction and is likely the reason for this shape. Just look at pictures from the James Webb Telescope. Very similar visuals, but since this is infrared, it makes it harder to make anything out. In other words, the shape itself may not actually be the object. It likely is just a visual effect created by the sensor. Some of the other interesting files included encounters from both the Gemini and the Apollo program. Gemini 7, the 10th manned American spaceflight. Astronauts James Lovell and Frank Borman told Houston Command Center that they were seeing hundreds of little particles.
Gemini 7 here, Houston, out of your 8.
Loud and clear. 7, go ahead.
Bogey at 10 o'clock high.
This is Houston. Say again, 7.
So we have a bogey at 10 o'clock high.
Roger. Gemini 7, is that the booster or is that an actual sighting?
So we have several, looks like the 3 up there, actual sighting.
You have any more information, estimated distance or size?
But we also have the booster in sight.
Understand you also have the booster in sight, Roger.
And we have very, very many, looks like hundreds of little particles going by from left out about 3 to 4 miles.
The command center said maybe it was one of the rocket boosters, but the astronauts confirmed they could see the booster off in the distance. Not much to the sighting, but it's interesting that they reported it and neither them or NASA could identify it. They called it a bogey because that was the name for an actual unidentified sighting. And since they had a code word for it, that implies there had been others before. The Apollo astronauts also had some weird encounters. Starting with Apollo 11, Buzz Aldrin said they saw an object that they originally thought was a rocket booster, but it was confirmed the booster was too far away. The astronauts all had different interpretations of the object's appearance, with Neil Armstrong saying it looked like 2 rings connected, and Mike Collins and Buzz Aldrin saying it resembled a cylinder. Buzz and Neil also reported seeing flashes of light, and reported a similar event to the Gemini astronauts. Apollo 12 astronauts also had similar reports, but the flashing lights they saw were pulsing at 1-second intervals, and some of them were escaping the moon. Apollo 17 astronauts reported flashing lights as well, saying it looked like the 4th of July out of their window. And both the Apollo 11 and Apollo 17 astronauts experienced the flashing light being inside of their cabin while trying to sleep. They also have pictures of lights they saw while on the surface of the moon. They're on the horizon and they range from orbs to triangles to cylindrical lights. Keep in mind that out in space it would be too bright and so stars aren't visible. And they're on the moon. There's no other possible sources of light. While this is a huge step for disclosure, it comes with a lot of lackluster pieces of evidence, and multiple that seem like they shouldn't have been there at all. But one thing is undeniable. The government is publicly releasing and discussing material that just a few years ago would have been completely dismissed. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, because the second batch of UFO files just dropped, and I'll be making a video on that soon, and any other batches that drop in the future. And let me know down below, do you think this is the beginning of genuine disclosure, or the start of a slow, controlled drip where the narrative is controlled by the government?